No, I'm not too big a man to admit that the end of Infinity War, it made me feel something. It made me feel emotions. But what it did not do is make me sick to my stomach. Hey, I'm Adrian Jensen from ProductionCrate.com, and today we're going to be combining the Avengers with Mortal Kombat.
Fatality. Thanos wins.
Anyone who's been to medical school or seen a cartoon knows that if you get choked too hard, your eyes are gonna pop out. But I wanted to take this a step further and make Loki's whole face pop out. The skull that I use is from ProductionCrate. I thought it would be rendered great since Thanos has a hold on Loki's jaw, if the rest of his head just snapped back, you know? Since the skull that we have on ProductionCrate is already separated into those two pieces, and it already has the pivot point in the right spot for that, it was really easy to just separate the two of them in Element, and then all I needed to do was a few rotation keyframes. On a second copy of the skull, I projected some of our 4K blood assets from ProductionCrate, and that's how I was able to get blood dripping down the head but following the contours of the head. Also added a little puppet pin tongue. Nico, you've seen Metalocalypse, right?
Love Metalocalypse.
Yeah, I was channeling Metalocalypse. Whenever we're about to make somebody explode, usually you would use the bulge tool and just make them like really fat for a few frames. But I thought, why not this time use the CC glass tool, and that'll give me a more interesting bulge, and that's why I was able to get some highlights as well.
All of the disgusting sounds heard in these clips can be found on SoundsCrate. The ones that I came back to most frequently are our body gore sounds and our stylized squish sounds.
Fatality. Thanos wins.
Stage hazards are a classic staple of fighting games, be it elements from the background that you can smash your opponent with, or parts of the stage that, if you're not careful, could end your game. In the spirit of this, I decided to take a crack at making Gamora's death scene from Infinity War a little more intense. We all know that if someone fell from that height, the second they hit the ground, they would be obliterated. So I decided to do that with a body blood explosion and a ground debris explosion, both available on ProductionCrate.
Monster.
I am a monster. The background of the scene was created entirely using ground and mountain assets available on GraphicsCrate. The only thing I had to do from there was apply a little color correction using levels to make the elements of the scene match those on Boromir.
Fatality.
So this shot is like when your little brother picks the same character as you know? I wanted to include some spikes somewhere because spikes are MKAF. That's Mortal Kombat as
Demonetized. YouTube wins.
Element 3D is actually like a 3D particle simulator, so it's really easy to take one model and then spread it out into an even grid. Element also has a feature called World Position Pass, which is what I was able to use to make my characters fall in between the spikes. I also found the Super HD blood assets from GraphicsCrate to be very helpful during this shot.
Fatality. Thanos wins.
If someone is tearing out your frontal lobe with their bare hands, it's bound to be a little bit gruesome. Think about it. So it only made sense to add some brutality to Vision's death scene. A bulk of this effect is adding and layering blood splatter elements from ProductionCrate and tracking them in with Mocha. A small bloodburst effect was used for the fingers entering the forehead, and all of the gooey, brainy elements you see are our new slime elements that are available on ProductionCrate. Stay tuned for the blood slime effects that we're going to be adding to ProductionCrate later this month.
We also got this shot from David. Of course, it's awesome. They're always awesome. David tells me that when he saw this movie in the theater, actually, he calls it a cinema. He was wondering, why don't they just cut off Thanos' dang arm? They cut off Call Obsidian's arm earlier in the movie. Actually, they cut off someone's arm in every single Marvel movie. Look it up. That's a fact. That's a fact. effect. As cool as the content aware fill in After Effects tool is, it doesn't always get us what we need. So in this case, David was able to make a clean plate using the clone stamp tool. And then the part where Spider-Man just so happens to swing across frame served as an excellent transition point to switch from the real background to the fake background. The fleshy bits on his arm stumps is just some of our self-healing wounds, but they're freeze frames because we don't want them to self-heal.
Thank you all so much for watching. That was incredibly violent. If you want more inappropriate violence, be sure to check out our M-rated Nintendo video and also our Marvel Zombies video. If you would like to use any of the visual effects assets seen in this video, you can find the links down below. If you want to keep up to date whenever we add new assets or just see some exclusive stuff, be sure to follow us at ProductionCrate on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you again for watching, and don't forget
To make it awesome.
No, I'm not too big a man. Let me make sure okay, I'm a normal sized man.